Okay? Our session is in Daniel 7. The session in a sentence says, unlike the world's temporary kingdoms, God is forming an eternal kingdom that is for all people under the reign of Jesus. That's the overarching concept that we're looking at today. And we're going to look at the first 8 verses of Daniel 7. Daniel 7 verses 1 through 8. Under the heading, the world's kingdoms are set against God and are temporary. Here's the first 8 verses. In the first year of Belshazzar, king of Babylon, Daniel had a dream, and his visions passed through his mind as he was lying on his bed. He wrote down the substance of his dream. Daniel said, in my vision at night I looked, and there before me were the 4 winds of heaven churning up the great sea. 4 great beasts, each different from the others, came up from out of the sea. The first was like a lion, and it had the wings of an eagle. I watched until its wings were torn off, and it was lifted from the ground so that it stood on 2 feet like a man, and the heart of a man was given to it. And there before me was a second beast, which looked like a bear. It was raised up on one of its sides, and it had 3 ribs in its mouth between its teeth. It was told, get up and eat your fill of flesh. After that I looked, and there before me was another beast, one that looked like a leopard. And on its back it had 4 wings like those of a bird. The beast had 4 heads, and it was given authority to rule. After that, in my vision at night, I looked, and there before me was a 4th beast, terrifying and frightening and very powerful. It had large iron teeth. It crushed and devoured its victims and trampled underfoot whatever was left. It was different from all the former beasts, and it had 10 horns. While I was thinking about the horns, there before me was another horn, a little one, which came up from among them. And 3 of the first horns were uprooted before it. This horn had eyes like the eyes of a man, and a mouth that spoke boastfully. Okay?
Out of the Mendoza household.
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
I don't want to be in that house.
Yeah, I don't. These are the 4 beasts. If you will remember, back in Daniel 2, Nebuchadnezzar had a dream that was interpreted by Daniel, okay, about this statue. This statue that had a gold head, silver arms and chest, bronze belly and thighs, and iron legs. It also had feet that were iron mixed with clay, okay? These visions in Daniel 7 mirror those of Daniel 2 in the way that you see up here. The gold head is like the winged lion. It represents the Babylonian Empire. Okay? Silver arms and chest, and the bear from Daniel 7 represent the Medo-Persian Empire. By the way, something about these dates. I am giving you, up until the last one, I'm giving you basically when those kingdoms were in power. Rome is different. The Roman Empire actually began in 600 or 700 BC, but they came to power in the Middle East in this, and so this is Middle East time. Okay, bronze belly and thighs, the 4-headed leopard with the wings represents the Grecian Empire under Alexander. Okay, Alexander the Great. The iron legs, the 10-horned beast, represent the Roman Empire. Okay, which defeated in 146 the Greek Empire. And the Roman Empire lasted until 426 AD. It was never conquered. It just kind of collapsed. You know, it just kind of, wasn't there anymore. Okay? So, after reading this, after seeing this chart, do you have any questions?
Yes, I have a question on metallurgy here.
Yes. I'm sorry. There were no metallurgy categories. Yes, I understand.
The one that concerns me most is the iron legs.
Yes.
And the reason I bring up iron, and here again, I'm not the best ignorance of this, but iron, as far as I understand, did not really come about until, I'm going to say, about the mid part of the Roman Empire when you start seeing iron, and what we might know as
Right.
steel today. Steel is more refined iron.
Right.
When
I'm not sure when the Iron Age began.
I'm going to say Roman Empire times is what I'm thinking. But this was before the Roman Empire when they wrote this story, though, right?
Yeah.
Prophetic.
Yeah.
So that could have been prophetic there.
Right.
Because I wonder,
Right.
and this is also, is the iron leg something that was a translation to something different from what it said originally?
You know what? I did not look up the word.
I mean, that
iron.
just occurred to
and
me.
the
I think
legs.
that's
Yeah. No. I did read a lot about how the legs represented the way literally Rome marched
Right.
and took over the land. The Grecian Empire was fast, and that's why it's represented by the leopard. Or some of you might have panther in your translation. Anyway, I'm really not sure. I'm gonna look that up.
The Iron Age listing on Wikipedia is 1200 and 1000 BC.
Oh,
So
really?
iron was around.
Was it?
It just wasn't
Okay.
probably used in heavily on
Right.
in a large
Right.
scale. It's just on they had some iron.
I did read that iron suggested the
Can't believe it.
it did suggest the swords and weapons and all of the things that they used militarily. But anyway,
I mean, iron ore itself has existed from the beginning as a
yeah,
element, and they just had to figure out how to melt it down, and it wasn't until much later that they learned to add other things to it
right.
to make it much harder. But iron has always existed.
Yeah.
You just took the iron ore, melted it down, and you could create things from it. And then they started adding, different kinds of coal to it to increase its,
Right.
strength. And they didn't figure that out until much later.
I also want you to notice that that beast, the fourth beast, had iron teeth. So there is something significant there about the iron and its strength and its use in battle. Okay, no other questions?
Looking at my Strong's Bible, it says that I guess the word that was used in Aramaic was iron.
Okay,
It was
Actually, iron.
okay,
Yeah.
That's interesting.
good.
But I got a question, because
Okay.
each one of these empires, the next empire that takes over, so there's only a few years in between. Like
Uh-huh.
the Babylonian,
Right.
it's only 20 years or
Right.
so between the Roman Empire, what happened after that?
After the Roman Empire?
In the Dark Ages.
Well, interesting. Interesting you should ask that, because some people believe we are still in the age of the Roman Empire,
the new Roman Empire.
the new Roman Empire. I personally don't think that. I think when it dissolved, and by the way, do you remember the 10 toes and the 10 horns?
Yeah.
Right? When it dissolved into 10 kingdoms. And we actually, there are places like Italy and,
Right.
all of that kind of stuff, Germany, they are regions. And when it dissolved into those 10. And the world has gone on from there. Okay?
We're certainly acting a lot like them now.
Yeah, and again, people who, oh boy, I listened to one preacher who convinced me that everything that was wrong with Rome is wrong with us. And the attitudes, the practices, all of those things, we see today. And so I do agree with that. Structurally, I don't know that I do. Now, one thing I want you to notice before we go on, all of those beasts over there were bad news, right? Bad news. Troublemakers. So, world organizations, world, if you will, powers oppose God. Those four did, and those who claim to rise up in the name of themselves, they do as well. The world opposed to God, this evil world force operates under Satan's control, displaying the same self-centeredness and deceit that is found within his character. Christians are called to overcome this world of spiritual evil by faith in the Spirit of God. Son of God. Listen, guys, that's going on now. The same thing. And when Daniel was looking at it, he was scared. He was saying, man, that's what's coming. I thought,
Nebuchadnezzar.
not Nebuchadnezzar, his son.
Dr. Joe.
Yeah, thank you. I thought he was bad, right? No, he's saying, hey, it's going to get worse. It's going to get worse, because he had these visions back when Nebuchadnezzar was around. And he said, it's going to get worse. Well, guys, this is where I want you to look at something today. I'm treading very carefully here because I guess I need to inform you of my personal stance because it affects what I'm going to say to you. Okay? I personally believe that Jesus could come today. I personally believe that before we leave this room, Jesus could come back. I'm going to fly away. The rest of y'all got to figure out what to do.
Call your candidate.
No, I honestly believe that. My grandfather believed that. He believed that every sermon he preached, he would be taken up to heaven before it was over. He believed that, and I believe that it could happen at any moment. I don't think it's going to happen, but I think it could. Okay? I am not one who spends a lot of time in eschatological or end times study. Okay? I'm not one who goes in for that. I have studied it. I do study it. And I know some stuff. Okay? But it's not something that I spend a lot of time with. Fair enough? Having said that, I was kind of clued in on this World Economic Forum by a lady who studies this stuff. And she said, and I agree, that we won't be here when the New World Order comes into existence. We're going to be raptured out of it. If we believe in Jesus Christ, we're going to be gone. That's my belief. See, I'm a pre-millennialist. Okay? A post-millennialist is someone who believes that the millennium has not yet arrived, 1,000 years of peace and reign by Jesus Christ. I believe that we are in the pre-millennial period, meaning before the 1,000 years. There are amillennials, okay, who think that it's all figurative and there's really no millennial period and it's all just a bunch of pie in the sky kind of stuff, okay? My father-in-law used to say he's a pan-millennialist because he believes it's all going to pan out in the end. And you know what? That's a good position to be in, right? So anyway, but she said this World Economic Forum, she does believe that some of the things could be in place before the rapture. And I believe this too. She believes that the Antichrist could be walking among us right now. He could be someone who has already been born, but his time has not yet come. Do you understand what I'm saying? Okay? And she believes that the foundation for the New World Order could be established before the rapture, and she believes this World Economic Forum is part of it. I don't know. But I'm going to show you some stuff, and I think you'll agree with me that bears watching. These are some of the things that you will find on the website of the World Economic Forum. The Great Reset. I showed you the video. The World Economic Forum was begun in 1971 by a guy named Schwab. Okay?
Charles Schwab?
Not Charles Schwab. Good guess. Good guess. It was begun as an effort to restructure the world, and their primary focus for a long time, up until COVID, their primary focus was on global warming and the ecology and all of that kind of stuff. Okay? You with me? When COVID hit, they saw this, by their own words, they saw this as an opportunity to establish and put in place all of the rules and procedures and things that they suggested all along, so that this great reset would completely restructure the way we think about world politics, about borders, about governmental systems, about economic systems, about social systems. And believe me, there's a lot of very influential people who are part of this, like Prince Charles. Okay? There's a lot of and people who are heads of like BP and Microsoft. Okay? Are you with me? There's a lot of people involved in this process, and there are some movers and shakers. Okay? They have a saying. They want to build back better. Now, in case you haven't heard that saying, you can go to a website, buildbackbetter.gov. You know that if anything says .gov, it comes from a government site, right? Buildbackbetter.gov is the site. Now, this is not political. Please don't misunderstand me. It is a website that was set up by Joe Biden to talk about how we're going to build back better. But before he used the phrase, they've been using it for quite some time now. I'm not saying anything. You understand? Somebody may have said, hey, we need to use the phrase build back better. And he might have said, yeah, that's a good idea. I like the sound of that. You understand what I'm saying? Stakeholder capitalism. You know what capitalism is? Capitalism is the system, the economic system that we operate under. It is based primarily on shareholders, meaning people who actually own stuff. Okay? Those of you who work in a business, somebody owns that business. Okay? Charlie owns Must Be Heaven. Or him in the back. Anyway, Charlie, now you got it free and clear? Good deal. Charlie owns Must Be Heaven. Greg owns his practice. Right, do you see what I'm saying? Now, if you work for someone, someone owns those things. That's what capitalism is. It's shareholder capitalism. Stakeholder capitalism says that the economy should be structured on everyone who has a stake in what a company produces, including the people who own it, the people who buy stuff from them, the people who work there, the people who read about them. Anybody and everybody can have a stake in it, and they have to do things according to what the people say they should do. Are you with me? So if the people rose up and said, Must Be Heaven will no longer sell pies, Charlie has no recourse but to make me a chocolate meringue pie and then shut down. That's what stakeholder capitalism does. Okay? By the way, another term for stakeholder capitalism is socialism. I'm I'm sorry, I'm taking way too much time with this, but let's go on. Fourth industrial revolution. They believe that there is a revolution that is in the process, actually, right now, of taking place. We've talked about, I don't like the term fourth industrial revolution. There was an industrial, John, back me up on this. There was an industrial revolution.
That's correct.
Okay, they're saying the fourth industrial, no. What they're saying is there's a fourth way we're going to look at the way we do business. Okay, geostrategic collaboration. That's it. One world government. And that one world government is going to be guided. I'm going to show you a map in just a second. Come on, the clock keeps that second hand keeps going around and around and around.
Want me to stop it for you?
Yeah, would you please take the battery out?
I can
I can make it work.
You better take this one too, or somebody's going to get mad.
I could stay here all day.
The geostrategic collaboration is world government, but it's also world government that focuses not on who has stuff, but who doesn't, and how to get stuff from the people that have it to the people that don't. Yeah. Okay. Global Alliance for Responsible Media.
I agree. Number 6.
I'm sorry,
I didn't hear it.
boys and girls, all of these things, plus I could have listed dozens of others, are on the World Economic Forum website. They are from the World Economic Forum. Do you understand what I'm saying? This is not something that I'm just making up. This is stuff that I've read about. Global Alliance for Responsible Media has to do with exactly what you're thinking. It's how to get rid of those people who are lying and making up stuff, and how to silence them so that the truth can get out.
Yeah.
Whose truth? Theirs. The Global Shapers community, right now in 400 cities around the world, including Houston and Austin. Okay? There are Global Shapers communities. They are young people, 18 and under, who are being taught how to implement all of this stuff and how to raise Cain to draw awareness of it.
Do they get to wear the Young Pioneers badge too?
Yeah. And they get to wear brown shirts and little.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. But
That's what I was just gonna say. It sounds like Antifa to me.
okay. Globalization 4.0. This is their concept for making a one world, not just government, but a one world economy, a one world people. Okay? I want to give you some quotes. COVID-19 crisis has shown us that our old systems are not fit anymore for the 21st century. See how the COVID-19, they've been talking climate change all along. And by the way, a major portion of the World Economic Forum focus is on climate change. You can imagine that. Okay. It has laid bare the fundamental lack of social cohesion, fairness, and inclusion and equality. To achieve a better outcome, the world must act jointly and swiftly to revamp all aspects of our societies and economies, from education to social contracts and working conditions. Every country from the United States to China must participate, and every industry from oil and gas to tech must be transformed. In short, we need a great reset of capitalism. In short, we need a great reset. All of those are statements by, what's his first name? Klaus Schwab. He is the founder of the World Economic Forum. Okay? By the way, they're meeting in Davos, Switzerland in January of this year. Okay? So if any of you are looking for a road trip,
Ski trip.
Ski trip, there you go. Okay, here's one from Prince Charles. We need a shift in our economic model that places nature and the world's transition to net zero at the heart of how we operate, prioritizing the pursuit of sustainable, inclusive growth in the decades to come. He is real big on ecology and global warming and all that. That's one of his big pursuits. And how about this one from John Kerry, who's just been named Joe Biden's climate change czar? Okay? Now, the first part of the quote, I condensed into just a statement, and then I quoted part of it, okay? The Biden administration will support the Great Reset and the Great Reset will happen with greater speed and with greater intensity than a lot of people might imagine.
Hey, Bob,
Yes.
they better be careful because communists don't like people that are called czars. They kill them.
Yeah, I know. I know.
I would not want to be called czar around the communists.
Yeah, I understand.
That's a wolf in the back of the head about stuff.
Yeah,
Why would we use the word
that is.
describe anybody?
So, folks, yes.
Let's just keep calling them czars.
It's a good idea.
It's something that I wanted to share that I was more aware of. I mean, a reset of this magnitude in their minds really isn't going to happen unless they take life. To be honest, because why would abortion be more aggressive? Why would they want to destroy the nuclear family? Why would they want to not do more about COVID-19 right now? Unless part of their reset was to kind of cleanse the planet and not only hickeys in the air for the people on the earth. I mean, you can't have euthanasia right now. In a lot of countries, it's
I
like,
understand.
take a pill,
Yeah.
Die when you want to. I mean, that's part of it too, and I think we need to be aware of that.
I understand. I will say, however, that their main what do you want to call it? Their main calling card, their main focus, their main attraction is COVID-19, and they've said it shows how things don't work. We have a better way.
Mm-hmm.
That's the thing, and that's what the New World Order is going to be about. Okay, the Antichrist at first will set up a New World Order in which he promises everything will be great and wonderful and zippity-doo-dah all day long. Okay, so that's the promise. That's the promise. Okay.
Bob, something else, and I've been noticing this the past 20, 30 years. Look at the way militaries are evolving around the world.
Yes.
There's been a great neglect in our military of heavy armor, heavy infantry. The reason for that, the past 20 years, we've been fighting people with sticks.
Yeah.
So Britain, England's a great example of this. They're getting rid of all their tanks now.
Yeah.
Britain does not have a navy to speak of like they've had in the past.
Really? Okay.
Their Air Force isn't that big. I mean, most of their military is more like an occupation force type of thing.
Right.
Marine Corps just got rid of all their tanks.
Who did?
Marine Corps.
Marine Corps.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's your judgment.
Camp Lejeune. Yeah, they just shut down Tank Battalion and got rid of all their armor.
Is that right? It's interesting.
That's
U.S.
not good.
Army still has them, but it's not. They've been going more to that Striker platform, which is basically an armored personnel carrier. And I've always said it's bad because when we do a near peer war, it's going to be tank on tank. Unfortunately, it should be the
Well, ours,
one.
Marine Corps got rid of theirs to transition back to the littoral force, more of a
Yeah.
expeditionary force and readiness attack from the sea, but they know the standoff with the electronics and all that stuff. It's
Yeah.
crazy. So they got away from doing the.
No, we're entering into a different world, a different world of warfare. Guys, if y'all hadn't talked so much, we are going to pick it up there, but I want to show you something and just let you ponder this, because one of the things that's going to happen in the New World Order is there are going to be 10 kingdoms. Just like you see in Daniel, just like you see in Revelation, there's going to be 10 kingdoms. Are you aware that in 2009, the UN divided the world into 10 kingdoms?
Be under Obama.
That looks predictable.
And it's based on economics. Now, by the way, I could have given you any of a dozen different groups who have established this one. I chose, this is not a new world order, and yet it is, because they're doing this in order to point out who has money and who doesn't, which regions have money and which regions don't. Okay? And it is just one of many maps that have been drawn along these lines by different organizations, different groups. Now, I'm going to tell you that the end of the lesson is this: Jesus wins. And there's nothing that has taken place in history with the Babylonian Empire, the Medo-Persian Empire, the Grecian Empire, the Roman Empire. There is nothing that has transpired in the past that has not been under God's ultimate control. And we need fear nothing, because Jesus shows up. He shows up in Daniel, by the way. In that case, it's not called Jesus, but he shows up in both of these, in the end of both of these prophecies. And we're going to be looking at that next time. Let's pray. Father, you told us that we need to be wise, to be meek, but to be wise. So, Father, help us not to worry or fret, because we know that's not of you. We know that's not trust. Father, help us to trust you, to know how to live our lives as your ambassadors in this world that is changing around us. Whether these people succeed, whether the next group succeeds, no matter what, Father, remind us of who you are and who wins in the end. And help us to live our lives with the hope of our calling in you. I pray in Jesus' name. Amen.